Alrighty, guys. So last unit or last topic that we got to talk about for this unit is graphing cubic functions using transformations. So we should definitely do this lab first. So like if you haven't done that already, make sure that you do. I think it really summarizes very nicely the things that we've talked about so far this year, especially when it comes to graphing when we are in the form of like kind of vertex form, like boop, boop, boop. We also talked about it with absolute values. And so now we have a new one to the third power. So again, like if you haven't done this yet, I think this, excuse me, is important to do. And then come back here and we'll take some notes on it. So welcome back. Hopefully you remembered that my A value is kind of like sloped to one point. When it's absolute value, you can use it slope all the time. But when it's anything other than that, like to the second power, to the third power, whatever, you can only use it once. My H value here is going to move me left or right. So, and it's a little bit backwards. So like minus moves to the right and like plus moves to the left. And that's kind of because there's already a minus there. So when you put another negative in, it becomes a double negative, so positive. And like left is negative, so I hope that makes sense. And then finally, K moves me up or down. So like if it's positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. And then like when I take H and K together, they sort of become my starting point. Like for a V graph, it was kind of where the V met. For my parabola, it was where the vertex was, like the bottom of the U or the top of the U. For a cubic, the shape of the cubic is a little different, but it still has sort of a center point where like change happens. So my center point is going to happen at H comma K. Okay, so again, talking about all the functions that we have so far, absolute value, when nothing has happened to it, starts at 0, 0, and then it's just a V with a slope of 1, 1 on either side. A constant function is just a straight line, like straight horizontal, could be anywhere. This is like if it's just a number. So in my case here, I picked the number 1. Could be the number 2, and then it just goes through 2. If we're just x, then we are linear. So starting at 0, and then we have a slope of 1. And then when we're to the second power, we are parabola. So again, starting at 0, 0 with a slope of 1. And then we kind of do a U from there. And now our new one. So when we take some numbers and plug it in, because we're not sure what it looks like yet. If I do negative 2 to the third, that's going to be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which is negative 8. Which kind of doesn't fit on here. Like I'm just going to throw it down there. Like that's approximately negative 8. And then when I plug in negative 1 to the third, negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So right here, when I plug in 0, you're 0. When I plug in 1, you're 1, like 1 times 1 times 1. And then 2 to the third is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, so positive 8. Which again is a little bit off this graph, but kind of there. So really what our cubic is doing is a wiggle. It's like a confused parabola. It was like going to be a downward parabola, but then changed its mind and went up. So this center point is kind of where it changes direction. So like if it was coming up, then it changes its mind and goes kind of up the other way a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain, but like we've been talking about it as a wiggle, or kind of like where you flatten out a little bit. So keeping that in mind, if we start doing some things, to our graph, then my center point can change and my slope can change. So like looking at this one here, because we're cubic, we are going to look like that wiggle, kind of like this. But now my center point is going to be at negative 1 comma negative 3. Remember, inside is always opposite, outside stays the same. So I can go plot that. The end behavior here, I can know because I am odd and positive. So odd positive is going to look like this. We're going to start down and end up. My slope to 1 point is 2 because the a value is 2. So from here, I can go up 2 over 1. And now with the cubic, you don't go up 2 over 1 the other direction because it's not supposed to look like a parabola. You're going to go down 2 backwards 1. So you are going to do kind of like a line, but like you can't make it look like a line. It needs to look like a wiggle. So you shouldn't just connect these dots. You kind of got to curve it out a little bit. So kind of like this. Oh my gosh, I'm even doing a bad job. They're kind of hard to draw. Just do your best. Okay, let's try another one. Like when they're fast like this, they start to really look like a line. When they're slower, it's a little easier. So we have our center point, which is going to be at 4, 2. So we can go plot that. This end behavior, so we're still odd, but we're negative. So we're going to start up and end down like this. So positive to negative. My slope to 1 point is going to be half or negative half. And so remember, just like with a parabola, you can't do slope the same here. Like it has to be rise over 1. So we're going to go down half over 1. And also up half backwards 1. And so we kind of come here. And then, nope, change our mind. So we're looking like this. See, the ones that are slower are much easier to draw. But again, draw them slowly and hopefully it'll go okay. So let's try some backwards problems. Okay, so when you're looking at the graph and you want to write the equation, you need to look for that center point. And the center point should sort of happen where you are flattening out. So here's my center point. So we're going to write our equation y equals a parenthesis x minus h cubed plus k because we got a wiggle. Since my center point is 2, 6, we'll do x minus 2 cubed plus 6. And then the reason that they're giving you these other points is because they are 1 away, so you can find your slope. So from this point to the next point, I had to go down 3, forward 1. So negative 3 because we went down. And that's kind of it. Now for B is maybe a little bit trickier. So it's still a cubic. So we're going to write it like this. But the reason it's trickier is because like they do give you 3 points, but I don't think this one is the center point. That's not really where it's flattening out. This is really where it's flattening out. And so the negative 5, negative 2 is really my center point. So double negative, we'll make it a plus, and then minus 2. And then from this negative 5 point to the next point over, we went from negative 2 to negative 1.75. So that's like a quarter up, like we went a quarter higher. So 1/4. I'm positive because this is going up. And then I think that's it. I mean, I could do this one, but I think it's fine. I think you're good. It's pretty simple stuff, I hope. Feels like review. Okay, I'll see you on the next one.